Open up your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness. Podcast with me, Sifu Boggie. Sifu means guide, muse, somebody who points you along the way, who guides you on your path. Boggie means the balancer between the chaos and the calmness, and he's my martial arts, my spiritual, and my healing name. And for the last 39 years, I have studied the Daoist arts. The Dao means the way, the path, the balance. And I've studied different techniques like Qigong, Tai Chi, Tit Ta, Tui Na, Chinese massage, acupressure, reflexology, Daoist philosophy, and many, many other techniques. And the whole role is to help people help themselves. And I especially help people with chronic pain, anxiety, and stress, help relieve that pain, relieve that stress, relieve that anxiety. And I can also help healers, life coaches, light workers supercharge themselves and ensure that they never burn out. That is my goal. That is my way. That is my Tao. And welcome to this Saturday show of Sit Down with Sifu on a Saturday. Hello, Saturday. And this week, episode 20 is the Tao of the Daoist Alchemist. Now, the Tao, the way, the path, the balance. There are many paths. There are many ways that you can use all these different techniques. One of the biggest things of the Taoist is this idea of alchemy, that the universe is energy, it is conscious energy. Everything is conscious and everything is energy. But the alchemist, with the word the alchemist, turning one thing into something else. Obviously, originally the alchemist would turn lead into gold. So it's turning something that is average into something that is wonderful. So the idea is that, turning the human into a conscious being, turning them into an enlightened being. The joke of sorts of that is that the Taoists believe that we are already enlightened beings. We are already pure consciousness. We are already the creators of our own reality. But the idea is that we are meant to return to that. So as an alchemist, we are not becoming enlightened. We're not becoming an ascended being. We are actually returning to it. For the Taoist alchemy, the goal, the mission, the idea is to return to what we once was. Now, within Taoist alchemy, there is both the external way and the internal way. So the external Taoist, the external alchemist, would use different medicine, different herbs, different elements to internally change their form. So there were elixirs, there were tinctures of different things to heighten the person. Now, within also the DragonDog Shaman, which was the episode before this, last Saturday, was the episode of The Way of the Dragon Dog and the DragonDog Shaman. Everything is about mind, body, and spirit. And they too are a form of alchemist. They change, they can convert one energy into another. But on the physical side, on the external side, it was far more like the Barefoot Doctor, which is, again, one of the past episodes. And the Barefoot Doctor, it was very much about using different techniques to transform things from one thing to another. So they would use physical techniques, so physical actual doing Qigong, or actual external, so medicine, or 5-element food theory, 5-element medicine theory. They would use different elements to transform you from one thing to the next. So the external Taoist would very much do hard exercise or physical exercises to fit the physical body, but they would also take a form of medicine, a form of elixir to help transform. And the goal, the aim, was to first rebalance the body, so to extend a person's life. So the Daoist alchemists believed in first extending your life and then reaching a point of immortality. Now, the extension was that an average Daoist, a Daoist that understood the Tao, the way, the path, the balance, that they could, in essence, the stories, the legends go that in essence they could live at least for 250 years. Now, in some of the alchemy, in some of the Taoist immortal philosophy, this is part of immortality. You know, living that long was a form of immortality, that you lengthened your life, you extended your life. So, you know, on the low levels, you could extend your life to live a lot longer, to live, you know, more than the average. So the Taoists very much believed in this extension of life. But they also, the part of the alchemy was also is to make you not just live, you know, 100 years or 200 years, but to live well for those 200 years or 250 years. So you wouldn't be living to 200 or 250 and be frail and weak and not be able to do anything. You would still be strong. And just within normal Taoism and things like Qigong, energizing exercise, it is known that the practitioners who even just do 15 to 30 minutes a day, they tend to live longer and also live healthier. My Sifus, who were practicing far more than 30 minutes a day, they when I first met Mei Li Shun, my main Sifu, and his brother Po, both of them, they probably only looked about 50 years old, but they were actually already in their 80s. And fitness-wise, they were more like a 30-year-old. You know, they were far fitter than most 30-year-olds I knew. But like I say, they were 80 years old, but they didn't look 80. And it is even said with me, I'm actually 51 at time of recording. Most people think I'm in my 40s. You know, mid. So some people have complimented me and said they think I'm late 30s, maybe 40s. I think it's just been nice, but I don't know. but a lot of people definitely do not think I look my age. So the whole point of things like the Qigong, the Daoist massage, but also the 5-element cooking, the 5-element theory, even the philosophies, the knowledge, it tends to extend people's lives. It opens you up to new information. Especially the DragonDog Shaman, they very much believed, and Taoists in general, that the more energy you have, the more stronger you become, the younger looking you become, the more flexible you become in mind, body, and spirit. The younger you become in mind, body, and spirit. So very much this Taoist alchemist path is at first about extending life and about improving quality of life. So, you know, extending life is all very well, but if you don't have the quality of life as well, then it becomes pointless. You know, there's no point being 150 years old if you actually can't do anything and you know you're stuck in the chair, or you know you're immobile. So the whole idea is not just about about quantity of life, but quality of life. So the Daoist philosophy and Daoist alchemy is very much about improving quality of life and extending it. So on the external side, like I say, there's a lot of tinctures, a lot of physical, physical activity. So the actual, the Qigong, the actual exercise, doing things in a certain way, and also taking these tinctures, taking these elixirs. Now, a lot of the time they would contain ginseng, ginkgo biblica. A lot of them actually contained a mead, which was which is honey, fermented honey, alcoholic honey, and there will be other herbs and minerals on top. And so the external path was, through a physical thing, and like I say, it can be through through Qigong exercise and certain exercises, but it was also very much taking these elixirs and doing it in an external way. Now, through this form, it works to a degree, and people have extended their lives. Whether people have become immortal, there is legends, there are stories of people coming immortal through this path. Is it hard evidence? Well, no, doesn't necessarily mean it's not true, but it doesn't mean it is true. Now, the internal way, the internal path, is actually through internal Qigong and or meditation, and a form or one meditation in Qigong terms or in Daoist terms is Shen Gong. So there's still physical exercise and there's still stretching the body, which is Daoist yoga or Neigong, but they would also use meditation. So taking this philosophy and turning it inside. So rather than focusing on the external world and doing it externally, they would do it more internally. Now, not only did the Daoists do this, but also in Tibet, the Tibetan Buddhists would do this, and it would be known as rainbow body ascension techniques, and within Daoism it was called diamond body ascension. So the rainbow body, one of the things that would be activated, so in the ancient knowledge of the Taoists, but also the ancient ones, or the ancient knowledge of the ancient ancestors, you have these different energy systems. So you have the meridians, the chakras, the auras, the Merkaba, the Torah field, and the dantians. Now, we mentioned the dantians in the last episode with the DragonDog Shaman, and the dantians are like these power cells. Now, within the alchemy and in internal alchemy, these dantians are quite important. But let's just go back to the diamond body and the rainbow body ascension for just a little bit longer. So with the rainbow body ascension, the rainbow colors or the colors of for a lot of people, they talk about the colors of the chakras and turning yourself into pure energy. So within Tibet, one of the biggest things they would internally focus on, and is simple in a way, but not necessarily easy, is that they would focus on unconditional love, on focusing on unconditional love for all their self and others. So a lot of the Tibetan monks would go to certain caves in Tibet, and they would be just living off of water and moss and maybe some herbs from just outside the cave, and they would stay there and focus on unconditional love and clearing out their what they no longer need, the negative energy, by focusing on this unconditional love. And it's like a very simple technique in a way, but it is not necessarily an easy one. And it was said that most of the Tibetans, the Tibetan Buddhist monks that do this, it could take up to 13 years to do it. Now, of course, you'll get people say, oh, yeah, but where's the proof? Well, actually, there is over 3,000 documented case studies of Tibetan monks who actually either they would pass away, they would die, but then their bodies would suddenly shrink, and it would shrink down to a tiny, almost like a foot big, little like statue of themselves. And or they would die and their skin would be like this silky smooth, and their hair would still be intact. And some of these would actually even disappear altogether, and all you would see was a rainbow, hence rainbow body ascension. Now, the word ascension is a little bit like enlightenment. It's a little bit of a misunderstood word, or sometimes misinterpreted word. The thing of ascension is not that it's the end of the path. They ascend and that is it. But they're moving on from one step to the next. So with the Tibetans, it was this focusing on unconditional love and focusing on that for a period of time, cutting yourself out from the world so you're no longer distracted from the outside world, so you can focus within onto the internal. Now, the diamond body ascension version is very similar. The diamond body is, when you look at a diamond in the light, you see the different colors. So it was actually about the rainbow body. It was turning into this energy. It was about the different energies of the chakras, but the different energies, different colors of the energy systems themselves. So the diamond body ascension, they would do a similar sort of thing. They would be focusing on meditating. They would be focusing on Qigong. They would just have the minimal of water and food, and they would actually, their goal was to purify their energy, to alchemize their energy, so they would turn into pure light. They would turn into this diamond light, and eventually leave within the diamond, which in other in certain religious texts is actually the Merkaba, the Merkaba, the chariot, which is in Christianity. They talk about the Merkaba being the chariot, but the diamond body ascension was actually turning themselves into a Merkaba. Now, a Merkaba is a pyramid, one pyramid pointing upwards, and then another pyramid inside the first one pointing downwards. So in essence, you get on the 2D version, if you draw it, the triangle pointing up, the triangle pointing down, you get 6 points. But in actual fact, it's actually a pyramid pointing down and a pyramid pointing up. And within the Daoist theory, in Daoist philosophy, this diamond body ascension is that you ascend into this diamond energy, you create this Merkaba, and therefore you can travel the universe. You can go all the way around the universe, or you can go back to the Tao, which in the information of Ra, the law of one, which was channeled information, they talk about 7 densities. And there is an 8th density, which is the collective consciousness, the God source. And the Tao would be that 8th density, is going back to source itself, going back to the collective consciousness. So the diamond body philosophy, diamond body ascension, was you would raise your vibration, you would increase your energy in your lower dantian, your middle dantian, and your upper dantian, the qi, the jing, and the shen, to a point where it starts to create this spiritual embryo, or this diamond body, the diamond body, which is the diamond body ascension. So you create this diamond body, you build up your energy from your qi, your physical vitality in the lower dantian, or in my school, the the school I was taught through the Shundao was that Qi is in the lower Dantian, Jing is in the middle Dantian, and Shen is in the upper Dantian. Now, there are certain philosophies that say it's the other way around, that the Jing is in the lower Dantian and the Qi is in the middle Dantian, but Shen is still in the upper. And this may sound a little bit confusing, and does it matter? Well, I think everything is up to the observer. The observer affects their reality. So for me, the school I go by is that Qi is in the lower Dantian, Jing is in the upper Dantian, the middle Dantian, and Shen is in the upper Dantian. And within the Diamond Body Ascension, you build up the energy first in the Qi, in the lower Dantian. You extend your life. You bring up your physical vitality, so you have that health. Then you build up the energy in the middle Dantian. Middle Dantian is your emotional vitality, your well-being. So you balance off your energies, so you find that unconditional love, which what they talk about in Tibet, the focusing on unconditional love. So within the Diamond Body Ascension system is that you focus on this unconditional love and you radiate it out. Like you may see people who, that person just seems to be just full of happiness or lights up the room. It was said that both Gandhi, Mother Teresa, even Buddha was known to be this unconditional love. You felt this love, this happiness when they walked into the room. And from the middle Dantian, the Jing, when that's overflowing, you then go on to the Shen. And the Shen is spiritual vitality. So you gain the connection to the universe, the connection in quantum physics, the field. You observe and you feel the connection to everything and everyone. And when all three of those Dantians are flowing, you then start to create this spiritual embryo, and the spiritual embryo is this diamond body, this spirit's diamond body. So this Merkaba, the Merkaba, and it creates this diamond body for you then to ascend. So you leave this old shell behind and you move on to the next. Now, again, as I said, within the Rainbow Body Ascension, they talk about that when you ascend, some of them ascend into pure energy, that there's no body left at all. Others, the body is left, but then it shrinks. It almost shrinks down to a small, tiny little statue of their former self. But the hair, the teeth, everything is still there, but it's this tiny little statue. And as I said, there's actually I think it's over 3,000 different case studies of this has actually happened, that they've actually written it down. They've actually got documentation of over 3,000 different studies of Rainbow Body Ascension in Tibet. In China, again, there were supposed to be quite a few of these. I'm not sure exactly how many. I think there's over 1,000. There might be more, but they've had, again, documented case studies of these people ascending. Now, obviously, there's lots more of the past, but there are people who still have said to have done it today. Now, the interesting thing for me with this Diamond Body Ascension is turning the diamond body is the Merkaba. Now, within the dragon dogs, the flower of life represents when the flower of life is 64 spheres, and it sort of makes this strange circular square, or this square made out of circles. Now, this circular square is actually supposed to turn in on itself, and it actually forms a toroidal field like a donut. Think of a toroidal field is actually the shape of a donut. So energy goes through the center and then out of the top. It goes round the outside and then underneath. So a toroidal field. So it's this donut shape. And the flower of life is said to represent these circles actually turn in on themselves and create this torridial shape, this torus shape, this donut shape. So the energy is going in for the center and out. And now there's lots of the certain galaxies have this torus shape. There's cells of the body that have this torus shape. You know, this toroidal field representation is supposed to be a lot within the nature of the universe, a lot of versions of this, of examples of this through the universe. Now, within the ancient knowledge, the Torah field is the divine feminine. And we'll talk about this in another episode. But it's complementary opposite. So the Torah is the divine feminine, the Merkaba or Makaba, or also the Metatron's cube is, which is a more advanced version, is said to be the divine masculine energy. So the Makaba, the Merkaba, or Metatron's cube. So Metatron's cube is actually 64 pyramids interlaced in itself. So where the 64 spheres creates the flower life, the Metatron's cube is actually 64 pyramids that actually are interlaced and create this very interesting shape. But a very basic version of it is the Merkaba, the pyramid pointing up and a pyramid pointing down inside each other, creating this 6-star shape. Now, this 6-star shape you'll actually find within Christianity, you'll find it within Judaism, you'll find it in Tibet. There's lots of Makabas all over, different symbols, different illustrations, different carvings all over Tibet. But you'll find it in China as well. And so the Merkaba is said to be this activated, this created ascension, this created vehicle that you travel in. Now, where this is interesting for me, especially recently, in the last 20 years, in the extraterrestrial world, the ET world, the UFO world, there has actually been more and more reports of these Merkaba style vehicles, of actually video recordings of this. Well, at first it looks like a spear, but when they actually closed up, it actually looks like this spinning, this spinning vehicle. And when they sort of took little photographs of it, you'd actually sort of see a triangle pointing down and a triangle pointing up, and they seem to be spinning. One spins one way, and one spins the other, and they were seeing them as craft. But according to the ancient knowledge, and according to some people who do a thing called remote viewing, who wrote remote viewing information, which was actually used and it can actually be found on the CIA website. There's actually documents of remote viewing that they did of Mars, and actually showing that it is a real technique, an actual a technique actually used by the CIA and other agencies, and it's used by people all over the world now. Different agencies use remote viewing, but that's a conversation for another time. But they have remote viewed these videos of these Merkabas, these triangle pointing up, triangle pointing down, and they said that these craft are actually beings. They're beings. It's not a natural craft, it's actually a being itself, which coincides with the information of the ancient knowledge that said that the rainbow body and or the diamond body especially are these Merkabas, the Makaba, this vehicle that you become, this triangle pointing down, this triangle pointing up, you become this Makaba, and you can travel through the universe or be one with the universe, go back to source creator itself. So when we go into this, especially into the internal alchemy, but there is another version where you mix the two, where you have the external and the internal. So it is a mixture. So you use some of the hard exercises, or you use the elixirs and you do the meditations and the internal Qigongs or Shengongs, and you do both to create this ascension, to create this macabre, or going into pure energy, pure light. So there are different ways to do it. There's the external way, the internal way, and the way of using both, which in essence in Daoism is the Tai Chi way, the Tai Chi alchemy of using both the external and the internal both together, create, to help you create that ascension process. Now, within this immortality, they say there are two immortalities. There is the internal and external. So yes, you have this diamond body ascension where you can turn it into light, you seem to ascend, and what's left behind is a tiny little, almost like a figurine of yourself, or a little model of yourself. But there is also, so that's more the energetic version. But there is this internal and external immortality. Now, the internal immortality is said within Daoist philosophy, within Buddhism, even within Christianity originally, when you look back, and many other religions, they actually talk about reincarnation, that we live over and over again, that ourselves, our consciousness is pure energy, and we move from one life to the next, just like wearing clothes. We go from one suit to the next suit, or the next set of clothes. But what happens is, as we go from one body to the next, we actually have like amnesia. We forget the past life. And this is where, through either meditation, we sort of, you start to remember, you can remember past life stuff, or deja vu. You sort of go, I've been here before, but I haven't. And so little snippets of memories are said to seep through. The internal immortality is within Daoism. There is this internal immortality where you actually remember your past lives. You actually remember the information from the past. And certain movies have actually shown this, where, but through internal and external Qigong, at the point of their death, they store that memory, they store the information. So in the next life, they remember far more. They remember more than they should. So within Daoism, there is this philosophy of the internal and external way. So the internal way is you become immortal internally. So in the next life, when you wake up, when you grow up, you remember more of your past life. You remember doing certain things. The external Taoism is that in this body, or in your macabre, you stay immortal forever. So you stay in your physical incarnation now, and you exist for as long as you want to, as long as you choose to. So the internal immortality is that you die in the physical body, your consciousness, which is immortal anyway, it moves to the next life, but you remember more of your past lives. You remember more of the information. Now, there are said to be more and more children waking up saying, I remember this, I remember being this old man, or this woman, I remember this life, I remember that life. And this is said to be happening more and more in our modern times. So the internal immortality is this way of going from one life to the next and remembering more and more of your past life information. The external immortality is through either diamond body ascension, or keeping this physical form and almost being like an immortal, and continuing through into extending your life for as long as you choose to, until you eventually choose to ascend to the next reality, or to God consciousness, whatever that is for you. And breathe. So there was quite a lot of information there. I think that is probably enough for now. So I will say, if you have any questions, you can find me on quite a few different sites. You can find me on Instagram, sifu.boggie. You can find me on YouTube as Sifu Boggie. You can find me on Facebook under The Way of Conscious Mindfulness. And you can also find me on a Discord group called Sifu Boggie's Chi Tribe, where we talk about different things like the Diamond Body Ascension, the Rainbow Body Ascension. We talk about Qigong, the I Ching, which is sort of like the Daoist oracle cards. We talk about many different things, and the links for that are in this podcast below. And you will find, so the Discord channel is Sifu Boggie's Chi Tribe, and that is a free group. It's an open community where we can share information and grow. And there's many people who do tarot cards and different readings, and there's many of my students are there as well. And also connected to that is the Shundao School, where you can learn Qigong, where you can learn the Chinese Reiki, Shun Qi Shen, as well as other Reikis and other energy systems. And so if that interests you, you can also find that on Patreon. So www.patreon.com/Sifu Boggie. So I hope you've enjoyed today. I hope that has opened your mind, inspired you in some way. If you have any questions, go to Instagram or YouTube, message me, contact me, and you never know, I might actually get you on the show and have you ask me some questions, and you could be a special guest. But for now, I think it's time to go. So thank you very much. Goodbye for now. Love, Chi, and Shen, Sifu Boggie. And remember, open up your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness.